Between 3 and 5 a.m., the world is asleep, but C.S. Lewis believed these 2 hours hold the power to change your entire life. Few know the secret. Even fewer have used it. Stay with me, because if you try what Lewis did during this time, you may never live the same way again. C.S. Lewis often rose before the rest of the world stirred. While the streets outside his home in Oxford still lay in shadow, while the air was cool and untouched, while even the birds seemed to hesitate before beginning their morning songs, he would step quietly into his study, the wooden floor cool under his feet, the smell of ink and old books greeting him like old friends, a single lamp casting a warm circle of light in the darkness. Lewis did not wake early simply because he was disciplined. It was not a rigid rule forced upon him by habit. It was a choice to meet the day before the noise could find him, before the letters and responsibilities, before the endless demands of the world could begin their slow pull on his mind. He believed there was a certain clarity hidden in those hours, a clarity you cannot find when the sun is high and the world is loud. The early morning, he once said, was like a sanctuary from the noise of life, a place where the soul could listen to its own voice without interruption, and perhaps hear the quiet whisper of God. Imagine him there, a heavy mug of tea beside him, steam curling into the lamplight, a worn pen resting between his fingers, the faint sound of rain against the window, or the first gentle rustle of wind through the trees outside. In those still hours, he poured himself into words that would one day cross oceans, reach strangers who would never meet him, and plant seeds of hope in people he would never know. He guarded that time like treasure, because in that fragile space between night and day, the mind is unhurried, the heart is open, and the spirit is awake in a way it cannot be at any other time. Now pause for a moment. Picture your own life in those hours. No phone buzzing, no one calling your name, just the sound of your own breath, the slow beat of your heart, and the invitation to listen. Lewis knew that the world can take many things from you, your energy, your focus, your time, but the dawn, if you claim it, is yours. And in those moments, great things can begin. There is something different about the hours between 3 and 5 in the morning. Scientists call it a liminal zone, a threshold between night and day. The body is still resting, yet the mind, if awakened, can be sharper than you expect. Your senses drink in the silence. Your thoughts stretch out like they've been given extra room to breathe. But Lewis would have said it even more simply. He would have told you that God often speaks in whispers, and whispers are easier to hear when the world is asleep. Some of the most brilliant thinkers in history worked in these hours, not because they were chasing productivity hacks, but because they had discovered a hidden truth. The early morning is not about getting more done. It is about being more present. It is about building a life from the inside out. Between 3 and 5, the world is not yet demanding anything from you. It is not telling you who to be or what to want. It is simply offering you the gift of time before the floodgates open. Imagine sitting in your own quiet corner. No rush, no expectation. Only the hum of your own thoughts. You can read without skimming, write without editing yourself, pray without distraction, or simply sit in stillness and watch your mind begin to unclench. Lewis once described this time as a meeting place, a place where the temporary and the eternal meet without interruption, where you can lift your head above the fog of daily living and see more clearly, where your heart can set its course before the waves begin to rise. Most of us live our days reacting to life, responding to emails, to conversations, to sudden needs. But in the quiet hours, you are the one who decides what matters first. And when you choose stillness first, everything else flows differently. Maybe this is why so many people who rise before dawn seem to move through the day with more steadiness. It is not magic. It is simply that they have met the day on their terms before the day could meet them on its own. Perhaps you are thinking, that sounds beautiful, but I am not a morning person. Maybe you have tried before and felt the pull of warm sheets was stronger than your will. Lewis would have understood. He was not superhuman. He was simply willing to trade one comfort for another. The comfort of a clear mind. The comfort of a soul unhurried. You do not have to leap out of bed at 3 o'clock tomorrow and write a masterpiece. You only have to wake once and give yourself a single hour before the world expects anything from you. An hour to read a page that might change you, to write a line that might live longer than you, or simply to sit and ask, what do I want this day to mean? The truth is, these hours are waiting for you. Every night when you close your eyes, they are ahead on the horizon. A silent room, a window to the dark, a chair where only you will sit. And whether or not you enter that room will be the choice that shapes the tone of your day. Lewis called this time a meeting with reality. And reality is something we are always either facing or running from. When you wake in the early hours, you are not just awake before others. You are awake before distraction, before expectation, before the current begins to carry you where it will. So here is the invitation. Try it. Once, twice, maybe for a week. See how it feels to greet the day before the noise begins. See what thoughts arrive. See how the weight on your shoulders feels lighter, because you gave your mind a moment to stretch before it had to carry the load. And if you do, you may find, as Lewis did, that you will never want to give those hours back. There will always be reasons not to wake up early. The blanket will feel warmer than the floor. The bed will feel safer than the unknown quiet waiting outside your dreams. And yet, every time you choose the comfort of sleep over the call of the morning, you are leaving something on the table, an idea that could have changed your path, a prayer that could have steadied your heart, a moment that could have reset the whole course of your day. Lewis believed that our mornings do not just shape our days, they shape our lives, because what we do first tells the rest of the day what matters most. If you rise with intention, if you fill your first hour with purpose instead of noise, you begin to live on your own terms, not as a passenger in the rush of everyone else's agenda, but as the captain of your own soul. So ask yourself this: when the year ends, will you remember the mornings you slept through, or the mornings you rose and met yourself in the quiet? The clock is ticking, not to rush you, but to remind you that the life you want is built in hours just like these. Tomorrow morning, between 3 and 5, when the world is still, when the air feels sacred, when your thoughts are yours alone, step into the quiet and see what waits for you there. There is something ancient about these hours. Long before alarms and electricity, watchmen would stand on the walls in the dead of night, eyes scanning the horizon, hearts tuned to danger and to God. Between 3 and 5 in the morning, this was known as the fourth watch, the hour when the night feels longest and the soul feels most alone. But in Scripture, it is also the hour of deliverance. It was in the fourth watch that Jesus came walking on the water, calming the storm and the fears of his disciples. It is the time when heaven seems closest, when distractions are silenced, and when the voice of God can be heard with unusual clarity. Spiritual warfare is real, and in these hours it is often most intense. Not because the darkness is stronger here, but because the light is so near. The enemy knows the power of a heart fully awake when the world sleeps. And so he whispers, "Stay in bed. Wait until morning. You can pray later. You can think later." But later never comes. If you rise in these hours, you rise into a battleground, but you also rise into victory. This is the hour to pray over your family, to declare freedom over your own life, to listen for the whisper that could direct your next step. Lewis once wrote, "The sun rises every morning, and it is a daily miracle. But the truest miracle is when a human soul rises with it, fully alive, fully aware, fully surrendered." When you meet God in the fourth watch, you are not just starting your day early. You are stepping into a timeless rhythm, joining the prophets, the poets, the watchmen of old, and the one who still walks on the waters toward you, bringing peace where there was fear, light where there was darkness. Tomorrow morning, when the clock says 3, and the world says sleep, heaven may be saying, "Come and see what I can do with a willing heart." Every day begins long before most people notice, long before alarms sing, long before the streets hum with engines and footsteps. The day waits in silence for its first keeper. You can let it begin without you, or you can step into it like a watchman opening the gates. These hours are not given to the rushed or distracted. They are given to the ready, the ones willing to trade a little sleep for a lot of clarity, a little comfort for an eternity of reward. Even if you never call yourself a morning person, you can still be a person of the morning, one who knows that the first thing you give your heart to shapes everything that follows. The choice is always yours. You can let the hours slip by, or you can claim them before the world does. You can scroll, or you can seek. You can drift, or you can decide. Somewhere between 3 and 5, the gates of the day are unlocked, and someone will step through them first. Why not you? Tomorrow morning, when the world is quiet and heaven is near, rise, not just from your bed, but into the life you were meant to live.